What's up, my people? This is ShowBizz the Adult. All right, man, look. As requested, here's my top 10 favorite fights of all time. Okay, and they must be fights that I watched when they happened. Okay, because you live the excitement, you live the adrenaline, you live all of the emotional, the ups and downs of the fight, the war, and whoever you're going for. You live those things. So it has to be fights that I actually watched live. Okay, so at number 10, I have Eric Morales versus Antonio Barrera. Okay, that was definitely an outstanding fight. Back and forth. I love that fight. At number 9, I have Ike Corte versus Oscar De La Hoya. That's one of those fights that's never really mentioned. It's not mentioned as much as it should be, and that was a war. At number 8, I have Prince Ahmed versus Kevin Kelly. At number 7, now this fight is, I got this fight at number 7 because it is a great fight, but it was so heartbreaking for me. But it doesn't take away that it's a great fight, and I still watch it now. And that's Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson. Now, we all see that fight as the big upset. Mike Tyson is many of our favorite fighter, right? And, we love Mike Tyson. But the fight itself was amazing because Buster Douglas looked like, Captain Marvel out there, okay? And you had a watered-down, weakened Mike Tyson, which made a fantastic fight. We all know what happened with Buster Douglas getting knocked down and coming back and hurting Mike Tyson once and then knocking him out. That was an amazing fight. If you look at it just as a fight, it was a great fight. At number 6, I have the first Evander Holyfield Mike Tyson fight. And I would still go down right now saying, that was the last fantastic heavyweight fight we had. Of course, we have, Anthony Joshua versus Klitschko. We have, right now in recent memory, you have Wilder versus Fury. But I think the first fight, Evander Holyfield versus Mike Tyson, I know they both were past their primes, but if you watch that fight now, that fight was at a different speed, and I know it had a lot of hype, and to me, it lived up to it. I think it kind of surpassed it because Holyfield was just looking really bad his fights before that, and for him to show up and TKO Mike Tyson the way he did, that was a fantastic fight. At number 5, I have Julio Chavez versus Meldrick Taylor. And we all know how that fight ended. Meldrick Taylor for me, he was kind of like a Sugar Shane Mosley clone. And he jumped out of there at the beginning. But we know the controversial ending, which is one of the, biggest endings of all time as far as controversy. But if you look at Meldrick Taylor now and, his brain damage and what happened to him since that fight, I think it was a good stoppage. At number 4, I have the first Riddick Bowe versus Evander Holyfield fight. That was a slugfest. That goes without saying. I don't have to go into far detail, about that fight. At number 3, the reason why this is not number 1 is because I was so young. But the reason why I remember it is because Hagler was the first boxer I've ever seen. So everything he did, I remembered. And I remembered, this is supposed to be a dangerous fight, but that Hagler-Hearns fight, okay? I remember my family screaming. I remember how they just came out there, just throwing their gloves around, blazing, like they said, the greatest 3 rounds in boxing history. So I got Hagler versus Hearns at number 3, only because I wasn't at least 10 or 12 to see that fight, okay? I was a very young kid. At number 2, Mickey Ward against Arturo Gatti. You knew that was coming. You knew that was coming, dude. More than a slugfest. It was what Gatti was all about. And Ward. I know they had a trilogy, but that first one, though, classic. And at number 1, for me, when I watched it, and it was hard to put this top 10 together because I had to think of when I watched it, how I was feeling. And for me, that is the Jose Castillo and Diego Corrales fight. That fight was such a slugfest. The late Diego. I mean, God bless the dead on that one. That was such a slugfest. And the ending, okay, let's relive the ending of that fight. Castillo couldn't miss his left hook. He drops Corrales with a, stunning left hook. Corrales' eye is half closed. Corrales drops. He spits his mouthpiece out. He gets up at like a count of 7, 8. Tony Weeks was the ref. I remember that. And he goes to the corner and I forget who his name. God, I forgot his name. But he puts the mouthpiece back in Diego's mouth. Diego goes back out there. Castillo can't miss a left hook. Lands it. Bam. Lands it. Boom. He drops him again. When he drops him this time, Corrales purposely, takes the mouthpiece out of his mouth. Tony Weeks get him up. He gets up at 9. I know it was almost a 10 count. He gets up. Tony Weeks docks him a point for spitting out his mouthpiece. Corrales goes back to his corner because they got to put the mouthpiece in his mouth. Rinse out the mouthpiece. His trainer says something like, you got to effing, do your thing. You got to effing get in there now. Something like that. He says that while he put the mouthpiece in his mouth. It's the 10th round, mind you. Yeah, it's the 10th round. Corrales comes out there extremely patient. Lands a very calculated right hand. I remember this like yesterday. And slightly, people didn't notice, but Castillo got rocked. Diego Corrales noticed. He landed the right hand again. Castillo eyes roll in the back of his head. Corrales let some hands go. They had to stop the fight because Castillo was out on his feet and he looked bad. He looked completely knocked out. That right there was the greatest ending of any fight I've ever seen. That right there that just had it all. That fight just had it all. So, that's my top 10. Of course, we have honorable mentions. We have David Toole. I could be a Bucci. We got a few, Sugar Shane Mosley, Oscar De La Hoya. We have one-sided fights like Gotti versus Floyd Mayweather. Dude, that was so one-sided and so nasty. That sticks in my head. Like, I had my fist covering my mouth like, Jesus. But it was, by that time, Gotti took so many blows, bruh. He was, before the Floyd, he was so punched, but, he showed his heart, man. But that was my top 10. I would love to see your top 10. Please comment below. List your top 10. This is going to be so much fun. And ShowBizz the dope. I'm out.